Hello and welcome back, everybody, to our Burton Albion England DNA series. Yes, we survived just. It was really, really close throughout the whole season. We went through basically bad spells, but this spell really in December saved us massively, getting those wins when we did. And what coincided here was a change in formation. I went to the 4-3-3 like I mentioned in the previous episodes that I was going to change to. It sort of worked for a while, then it went wrong again for a while, and I was trying to tweak it, try and make the best of both worlds. It was, extremely tough. Basically, what kept us up really officially was I think it was the Sheffield United game, maybe even the Portsmouth game. I went back to the 3 at the back tactic, and it got us an extra 4 points just to push us over that line. There's such a game to go technically, but the reason I've stopped you right here is, well, something I'll show you in a second. In fact, let's get to it now. So somebody asked me how the youth team's been doing in the Youth Cup, and I have an answer for you. The Burton Albion Under-18s won the FA Youth Cup. Congratulations on applause to the youngsters. Very, very good job from the lads. And they did a great job managing to win the FA Youth Cup for the first time, by the way, that's happened. And we also got a youth intake, which I'm going to show you right now as well. Okay, so this is the list of youngsters that we managed to bring in. And I'm going to go through all these lads here. I think we're going to be surprised by a few of these. The first player I want to show you is Aaron Oxby. Aaron Oxby, 6'4" striker, might just become world class. He might become the player we all thought John King was going to become. So I'm really excited about him. The only thing that I can put down to this intake being slightly different was that, I don't know, maybe 3 months before this happened, we changed formation to 4-3-3. Well, the same three strikerless, 10s as it were, but it became like a back 4. So I don't know if that changed. So that's the only thing that we really changed was that in terms of the game. Everything else was exactly the same. The training facilities did get upgraded in January as well. That was another little change. Before, the youth staff almost exactly the same. The head of youth is the same. Yeah, finally a striker that could become a top player. See, now with him, rather than putting him on all the casual striker stuff, I think next season I might just put him on quickness early on because he needs to get his acceleration up. And if his acceleration gets up to 12, he's instantly a starting striker. He's better than John King immediately. So he's already got the finishing and first touch dribbling. He's already got the technicals. That's a good sign for us. So I'm really excited about him. And it'd be interesting to see. Now, if this declines, there's definitely a problem with the schedule, right? So we need to have a look at that. But let's see how he does. Steve Torrance comes in as a left back, or what do you want him to be? What would you like him to be? He could be side of a back 3. He could be an inverted wing back in a back 4. That's what we were using, so it could be very good there. And looks like a really good youngster as well. Tate Denham is a centre back. Will be, again, very, very good on the side of the back 3, I think. Probably not as good in a back 4, but again, side of a back 3 could be a really good centre back there. Jordan Rowlands comes in as a pivot player. He's going to probably be just a solid CDM type midfield player, nothing too much more than that, but another good player into the squad. Patrick Bishop comes in as a right winger or potentially right wing back if we need him to be. So there you are. Mark Crothers, yet again, another left back. We've got a second left back, but this one has got 16 passing, 16 teamwork. So yet again, we could change him to maybe being something else, not quite sure. But there you go, another fullback that looks very, very good at left back. And that is pretty much it. So there you are. That team managed to win the FA Youth Cup. In fact, does that count who they played? Did they play our new youngsters in this? They did. They played Aaron Oxby in that game, which was quite funny. They played some of the new players in that cup final. So fair play to the boys. They managed to win that, which was good. The 4-3-3, I sort of ended up with this, but really it was this for the majority of the time. I was just messing around with these sort of roles, and we ended up with this, I think. What I decided to do was to go with 2 inverted fullbacks to effectively make both the fullback roles central field roles. So they're both going to end up in these sort of central areas. I tried to put the width across as far as I could, put these on stay wide to try and get some width in the tactic. Didn't really work. So I'm still scratching my head about how I'm going to try and get fullbacks that aren't going to be overlapping attacking wing backs like we had Justin Barker-Trott. They're going to be orthodox fullbacks, slightly more control, maybe support duties, maybe inverted wing backs. They're not going to provide lots of width. And I'm trying to come up with a scenario how I can get a bit of width. So I've got an idea of what I'm going to try in this game, actually. So that's what I'm going to bring you with me for this last game against Leeds. I want to see if we can try something a bit different here and going into next season. So this is what I've been going with. And I think I've showed you everything else that I need to show you at this point. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. We haven't got proper wingers. We haven't got wingers that are going to be running at players, beating players on the outside. So what I want, potentially then, is an inverted winger. Now, inverted wingers will go and sit more centrally, right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to sit more centrally into these sort of positions here. So I'm thinking we go potentially... Do we go inverted winger support? So it ends up becoming like a 5 in the attack. And what I ended up doing as well is I moved the CDM to halfback because what I noticed is when you use the halfback, it was spreading out my centre-back so wide, it kept the shape exactly the same. So what I ended up reverting back to is I went back to the exact same tactic, same exact everything in this tactic, and all I changed is the middle centre back becoming a half-back. So everything else should have stayed the same, apart from the fact that I obviously moved the fullbacks backwards because they became fullbacks. So this really just became that, really. Everything else stayed exactly the same. That's what I ended up going to in the 4-3-3 to try and make it work better after it stopped working for a little while. We sort of got similar positions, similar things, but we weren't really creating enough good chances. It was weird. It's like we could play a game and create 2 clear-cut chances in the first half and then win the game 1-0 because we score one of them, we sit back and defend the rest of the game. Well, not sit back, but we control the game, get passes, etc. And then in future matches, we wouldn't create a single thing. So I think that triple strikerless is a bit hit and miss for us. So I'm going to try this. My conclusion was, when we're building up, having the 3 shadow strikers really hindered us having anything to play to. So it ended up being either unnecessarily direct in certain moments. In general, we did dominate possession pretty well because it's quite a short passing tactic in terms of the way the players and roles are moving. But the biggest problem was they couldn't really find any progressive passes through. It was either like a perfect 15-pass move and a goal, or we would turn it over nearly every time. So we don't have wingers, right? We don't have wingers in the squad. That's not something we have. So inverted winger support is going to be quite a passive role and duty where they're going to get on the ball wide and then look to through ball it into the middle. And then in the middle, we're going to have 2 players running through. We're going to double underlap, I reckon, here. And we're going to create like we're going to create a 2-3 build-up shape. It's going to be after the play out has been executed, he'll move back up here. These 2 will move into here, so it becomes a 2-3. And then we're going to go into this sort of shape, and we're going to try and get 2 players running in the middle. Now, do I make it symmetrical, or do I make one attacking central fielder more attacking than the other? I could maybe make this into box-to-boxer. I could maybe make him an inverted wing-back attack. I could do some of these things. Right this second, I'm thinking, let's make it symmetrical, and let's tweak it backwards from that point. That's what my current thought process is. So we're going to go with that and keep all of this exactly the same as the previous tactic, except for we've gone double underlap now. That's the previous tactic. Let's go with that. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, that looks good to me. Take all this off. That's all good. Okay. Yeah, it's trying to come up with a tactic where you can't use wide players and try to come up with the best tactic for that to work. And also you don't have overlapping attacking wing backs with pace. So it's trying to basically come up with a tactic where you don't have much pace and acceleration in the team, which is quite rare for me in Foot Manager because I like to buy players that are quick. I have been using Georgie as the starting right inverted fullback support, so he's been doing a pretty good job. Well, he's been able to survive there, is how I describe it. Let's be honest. So he's been doing okay, not great, but he's been able to improve and play in that role. And Lee Burley as well, playing an inverted fullback, I think suits him slightly better, and he's slowly improving as well, slowly getting into a good side there. In terms of attacking players, does Stephen Hudson go on the attacking role? I guess he does. He's such a good controlling player, though, isn't he, from the middle? Okay, let's go with that as a team and see how that team gets on. Also, Aled Harrison was out for 3 months in the season. He got injured for 3 months. So Luke Norwell had to play for 3 months, and you'll see here that he's really improving. We'll get to the attributes development review in a second, but yeah, that's been quite impressive as well. Okay, that's going to be a team. Let's see how we get on in the game. Interested to see how this goes, really. If I was too aggressive with roles and duties at the back, we'd get caught on the counter. If I was too passive, then we couldn't create chances. We can't seem to get a good balance with this team at all at the moment. So Leeds are currently second in the league, so this is going to be a tough game. If we were able to, if we win and get absolutely battered and somehow survive and scrape a 1-0 win, that doesn't really count. If we're able to play well here and compete, that's going to be more the thing, really. Even if we lose, but the XG is close, chances are close, that's probably a much better sign for us, right? As Leeds get a highlight early on here. Are they going to get a goal is the question. They play it in behind. The Sunot Bow goes through, shoots, it's just wide. Leeds free kick towards the far post again. It's going to be brought on by Bishop, plays back into the middle. From then, they're going to score a goal. Is it offside? No, it's just offside there. Leeds free kick, headed towards goalkeeper's going to collect it. Let's see a good highlight from us then. What we got, lads? So I have been watching games in full match and comprehensive and extended all the way through. I've got this one back on key because obviously we're doing it for a game on camera. What ball this is, Hudson. Okay, so now the team obviously has lost the ball as John King, but the team's a little spread, I think, there. The inverted winger support, I still like them to get in behind if they can. So I'm thinking maybe we go one more down on the width. Maybe we go get further forwards, do a bit of that for them. Right, okay, bear with me on this. Bear with me on this. So basically, it's like a Pep sort of tactic. You've got your almost 3 centre-backs, we're going to call it. They go into a back 3. He moves into the middle, make it a double pivot. They slide across. It becomes a 3-2-5 almost, with 2 wingers holding the width, but looking to through ball it in at every opportunity. Let's see how that goes. Let's just see what happens. Let's go. Let's go put this onto extended, comprehensive. Let's see how the team looks with this. We've got, yeah, a lot of players now playing in that sort of front line. Free kick for Leeds towards the far post, headed towards the keeper. Keeper collects it. Okay, let's see the team in its build-up shape. Oh, no, it didn't show it. Why didn't it show it? Leeds get the ball. They go through. So Bauer scores. 1-0 Leeds. Andrew's got the ball here, Kyle Andrew, and he just absolutely punted it clear, which is not ideal and a bit annoying, to be honest, when he's got so many potential options here, surely. So it goes to Kyle Andrew. Right, he's got this completely open. He's got, I mean, he hasn't really got that. He's got maybe this. He's definitely got that, and he's just played it in behind. Why, Andrew? I mean, we have to move all the tactics back, aren't we? Yeah, okay, so it didn't quite work for us in that game. I think I will tweak with that next season, trying to come up with some sort of way to get the wide players involved, getting all these lads in, and seeing if we can come up with a tactic without any wingers, basically. I mean, there could be players in winger roles, a converted winger, but they're not going to be wingers. We have to design it around them being number 10s, which is what they're going to be, the players playing there. There we are. Okay, let's do a quick attribute review of the season and an end-of-season review. Okay, we're waiting for this. Finally, the board have got plans to build a new stadium. That is very, very good. Looking for new investors. This will be interesting to see if this could happen. This could be really, really good news for us long term. Here we go then, Burton Albion end-of-season review. The results finished 20th. Yeah, I mean, 2 points off relegation wasn't great in the end, was it at all? I mean, it was a tough season. I'm not going to lie to you. This save and this no signing save has become very, very tough. Again, I still think starting in like Vanarama North-South would be easier to do this kind of save with, because in those early years, the youngsters you get through will go into your first team. You can sort of develop it, whereas the level's quite high for us after getting promoted in the first season. Moments to remember, the finances looking slightly better in some, not so good in others. Those are your shirt sales. Not too much of a surprise there. How we lined up, that was pretty close to what we had in the end. Yeah, Lee Burley's got himself into the starting 11. In fact, Terry Taylor's out the team for the first time, I think, ever. The accolades, fans player of the season was Victor, okay. Young player of the season was Aled Harrison. Goal of the season with Hudson. He scored a few absolutely unbelievable strikes from the edge of the area. Top goal scorer is John King again, but less goals than last year. Definitely need to replace him if we can, which we're going to be able to do this year. And then some other ones there as well that you can all see. Here should make it the Mike Manager timeline. 400 matches, that's pretty much all we've managed to get. Burton starting to... Okay, so I didn't realise that we had this, but the Burton starting team against Middlesbrough was entirely produced by youth players. So obviously in some of the matches early on in the series, we've had players that have started off at Burton but didn't come through Burton's academy. And that was the first ever game with complete youth academy players from Burton Albion. So that's brilliant to see that we're finally getting to that sort of points. Okay, some reviews of players. Let's have a look. Start with Aled Harrison. Let's see him over the last 12 months. And I'll make sure I get myself out of the way for this. So he spent, in the last 12 months, he's been injured probably 2 or 3 times. In total, it's probably been about 4 months out injured. And he's been unhappy. So he's not developed as much as we'd like to see. I could sell him, to be fair, and take the 20 or 15 million pounds for him. And the reason is we've got Luke Norval here, who over the last 12 months has really, really improved to the point where he's probably almost as good as Harrison. Like, if he played as a starter for a full season next season, he'd be as good as Harrison by the end. But we'd have some early problems early on in the season where he's not quite as good as him, but long-term would be. So potentially we could do that. It's a bit of a risk, because if I was to lose Luke Norval, like due to a release clause or something later in the series, to have no goalkeeper would be a horrendous issue. He has got 4 years left on his contract and no release clause right now, which is good. Mitchell King still slowly improving, which is nice to see. Has actually just had a meeting with me saying that he's unhappy with the club's or the playing staff. The playing staff isn't good enough quality, so he might want to leave. Unfortunately for him, he's got another 4 years left on his contract, but somebody could trigger it for £60 million all up front, which may lose Mitchell King, unfortunately. Kyle Andrew of the last 12 months, slowly improving still. Hasn't got a release clause in his contract and has still got 7 years left on his contract. So that's what we want to try and do. Get on 7-year contracts. And yeah, now he can't really be lost. Some of the players, we had to give them a release clause, otherwise we lost them on a free. So, you know, it had to be done. But for Carl Andrew, didn't. Giannis has slowly improved. He has... Well, actually, do you know what? He's getting quicker now as well, which is good to see. So Giannis is getting much better, having been a starting level right back for us. And he could maybe start... If it's an inverted wing-back role we play on both sides, he can do that role for us on the right-hand side. That solves a bit of an issue there as well. Lee Burley of the last 12 months, developing really, really well. I mean, he's almost rivaling Terry Taylor for a place in the team at this point, which is really good to see. Solves us another problem at that position, which I was getting concerned about. Sam Heller still progressing a little bit. His passing's gone up to 15, actually. Hopefully his dribbling can go up a little bit. I think I just stuck him on ball control for most of the season, because that's what he needs to work on. Now, Brendan Hughes is difficult because he continuously is unhappy because he wants to leave the club. But unfortunately for him, he's still got another 4 years left on his contract and a £28 million release clause. I don't think anybody's going to activate that up front, to be honest. His valuation's still only 8.25. Well, that's what we've got on him. So, yeah, he's probably going to stay with us and just stay unhappy, which means he's never going to fully develop into the player that he could have been because he's always unhappy and not training properly and doesn't react to training criticism as well. So it's unfortunate that he's probably never going to quite hit the heights that he could have hit, but he's still going to be our best midfield player or one of. So at least we've still got that. Stephen Hudson is an unreal player. He's a little bit immobile. So I basically resorted to just leaving him on quickness now. So this is what I started to say, right, where, yes, we've got those sort of rotated every 3 months they change their focus, but for some players in their ILP, their individual learning plan, we've got some of them on specific things like Brendan Hughes needs to work on ball control, so does Heller, because their dribbling is quite low for a midfield player. And Stephen Hudson's not really that kind of player, but he's really slow and not very agile. He's finally got up to double tens for acceleration and pace. So it might be for Stephen Hudson that we just do 6 months acceleration or quickness, 6 months agility, and that's it. He just does those two for the whole year going into next season. Tom Kiernan, stagnating a little bit, probably reached his peak by the looks of it, but still a good player, good midfield player, just not quite maybe the top level player that we was hoping he could become, but still really good. Alberto Polo with minutes in the first team and no injuries has started to progress again, which is good to see. Left-footed replacement potentially for Powell long term. I'm going to try and play him a little more next season. If next season becomes another dead season where we're not going up, not going down, it's going to be in the middle, although this season we didn't go down, I'll probably give him a big run in the team and replace Powell because Powell is now, what is he, 32? 31 still, but coming towards the part where he starts to go on the decline. Victor's still Victor. I mean, I really want to stop using him because I can't rely on him for too much longer. This season is going to start to drop on some of his attributes, and this is going to be his last season with us at his prime. He's played striker, he's played wing back, he's played shadow striker, he's done everything. Helder is still only on a youth contract. He still isn't old enough to be on a full-time contract yet, and he's slowly improving, probably not quite as much as we'd like, but he's still there. Ian Lockwood picked up yet another injury, so he's slowly progressing again. I think he's probably going to fall just short of what his potential was because of the injuries he's had, basically. We can't really escape that. Neil Davidson wasn't really playing much in the first team because it got close to us being relegated, so I put him back into the 21s to basically train there, play there. He seems to have had an uptick again a little bit. He could be back in the first team next season. It depends on what system we play, really. And Nicky Winnell. So Nicky Winnell's a player that I think could have been our starting left-back, potentially. As an inverted wing-back, he could still be that. So I might promote him next season to the first-team squads. Him and Lee Burley can both sort of rotate then. And then Terry Taylor can be an emergency left-back if we're struggling. We need somebody that's good. He can play CDM if we need him to play in the middle as well. He can do bits and pieces job for us. And look at this. Iran Oxby's already worth £11 million. He's going to be good, isn't he? So I've not touched him yet. He's just slowly progressing on his own. He's going to be really, really good. Yeah, so Reece Bliss, I was playing mainly as a shadow striker in the under-18s. He could become like a good backup right wing back if we go back to a back three. But yeah, not really too much to shout about there. Scott Rainsford apparently was doing very, very well in the youth team. And as you can see, over the last year, he's done pretty good, actually, to be fair to me. That is pretty good. I've got also Dylan Wilson. Looks like he was doing pretty good in the youth team as well when I was checking in throughout the year. And that's him over the last year. Decisions +3. There you go. Pretty good for number 10. And that is pretty much it. Of course, there's more youngsters that have just joined the club. There's no point reviewing them yet. They've only been here for like 2 or 3 months. Right. So what I'm going to do now then is put the schedules back together for next season, progress through the pre-season, tweak the 4-3-3 a little bit and see what I think could potentially work again. I need to get a solution off of out of this scenario. I cannot play with any tactic that relies on proper wingers or inside forwards that have pace, acceleration, dribbling, finishing, because we don't have that. We've got a bunch of number 10s and central field players all over the pitch. So you can either play 3 at the back, have one inverted wing back one side, which is like another central forward position, and then just one wing back position, because that's just one wide player. We could probably get away with using one wide player. I could use either Brendan Hughes there, I could use somebody else if I need to, but we don't really have it anymore, right? So if you're not going to do that, how else could you do it? We could try and play like a really possession-heavy style of football, a bit like Pep City, and our team is a bit better now to do that. We could potentially go down that road and see if that works for us. But we're still such a huge underdog in the league, right? So it's really hard because we are a massive, massive underdog in each game. So it's gonna be a mission to try and find a solution to this. But narrow diamond, 4-3-2-1, like Ancelotti's Milan 04-05, then 06-07. Those two are options. 4-3-3 like this in some form, with 2 inverted wing backs, so like a 2-3-5 sort of system. Yeah, there's multiple different ways we can go about it. Although it's just tough right now. Potentially we could go to like a 3-2-5 and play like 3 centre backs, 2 wing backs that are both inverted wing backs, with like a back 3, 2 inverted wing backs. It becomes like a 3-2, and then try and play a possession style of football based around that. So that could be interesting because we've got players to play the back 3. and we've got wing backs that can play as central field players, it's then, if you do that, if we're using your 2 pivot players as wing backs, like where does Stephen Hudson play? Because I don't want to play him as a wing back really, and he's not really attacking midfield player. He's more of a pivot controlling type player. So you run into that sort of issue maybe. But yeah, it's going to look very Pep-like, but I don't think in the match engine that's going to work with our team, because our players are nowhere near as good as the opposition. You almost need to have one of the better sides in the league, and we don't have that right now anyway. But yeah, lots of things to think about. Do let me know in the comments what you would have done in this situation. My plan is to eventually put this save file up when I've completed the series. Same for the Moneyball series. Yeah. Right now, this is tough. This is really tough. The board actually were happy with our job. They were pleased until the very final game of the season, because if we'd have won the last game, where would we have gone? If we won the last game, we would have finished 17th, right? And that would have been competitive. We would have been in that sort of mid-table mix. But because we lost it, we finished 2 points off of the relegation zone. They've called it a failure that we didn't compete. So they're unhappy with us right this second. Or it says disappointed. So just a bit harsh. We got Burton up to the championship. We kept them there for years. Not signed any players at all. Made them loads of money. And they're unhappy. But that is what they're saying. So we need to do our next season. We can't afford to get ourselves in a relegation fight really again, because I think if we end up with a bad start, they could apply some pressure to us for our job, potentially. Who knows? So we have to get this right, which puts it makes it even more difficult, doesn't it? But okay, I'll see you then at the end of the preseason, let you know how the season started. Hopefully we got a solution and we've got some things that are working well for us. But I'll see you then. Hopefully it all goes well, and hopefully we don't lose any players in the summer, but we might do. Let's see what happens. One last thing to tell you, I did bring Steven Gerrard in as a coach this year. I completely forgot to mention that. And his first season with us hasn't gone great, has it? Because we nearly got relegated, but there we are. Okay, while I'm clicking through, not only have our under-18s won the FA Youth Cup, our under-21s have been promoted to the U21 Premier Division 1, so they've been promoted a whole level up. So both youth teams have done really, really well this year. One thing's a bit frustrating is whenever I asked the youth teams to play a specific team, like I wanted, for example, Helder's being the team more, if one injury seems to happen, etc., it seems to reset too often, and I can't seem to force them to play the same team for too many games in a row. So I keep forgetting about it. And like Helder didn't play as many games as he should have done, but I made sure that he played, and so did a couple of others in that last game. And they won the playoff final, so fair play to them. They're going to get promoted next year to a higher division. That might be a good thing for U21 player development and under 18s as well. How did the under 18s get on in their league? They finished mid-table, but I think they're already in the top division, right? Yeah, they're against City Liverpool, so they're already in the top division anyway and competing and won the FA Youth Cup, so they're doing well. Now, yeah, the under-21s are going to get promoted, so that's going to be really interesting until they get on a higher level next year. But really good stuff from the youth teams, which is good to see. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So, we managed to win our first game of the season 1-0, which was good. We then lost in the cup with the rotated side. Nobody really cares. Then lost 4-0 to Forest away, which could have happened anyway. 2 red cards, which didn't help the proceedings. Of course, I'm still speaking the tactic. I don't quite know what I feel like is right at the moment, so what I've decided to go with, if you look at the tactic in terms of like vertical lines, I've sort of got Lockwood going into this sort of one. Hughes is going to push up, not quite in the same position. He may well do. We'll have to wait and see. And Hamer is going to stay wide and then Hamer's going to stay wide. That's the sort of idea here, because nobody else is going to be holding this sort of wide zone. Whereas here we're going to have Kiernan sort of going in and trying to through ball it into your 2 runners. Got one here. And then you've also got somebody holding the width. So when Kiernan cuts inside, you should have King in behind. Powell should be near him if he wants to use him. But you should have Lockwood as well going in behind. Hamer should be high and wide. So you shouldn't have to lose the ball as often. And then we've got Burley going in, playing in the central zone there to combinate for when Powell vacates the central areas and goes into a wider zone. That's the theory. The tactic, I've tried to keep this exactly the same, just because if I find something I think I quite like, I can then start to refine it a little bit. This should work as well as it's going to in the current setup. That's going to be a team because we've got a couple of players out still. John King is almost fit for this, actually. Just stick him up at Victor in. And yeah, we'll see how we go in today's episode. We are going to play Derby, Middlesbrough, and Bristol City in today's episode, because then it's an international break going into the Barnsley game there. So that is what we are going to do. I've promoted Ian Lockwood to play on the wing. I mean, like, if I gave him minutes so we were able to compete, he could turn into a half-decent wide player. So let's see what happens. Let's try and do it early in the season when we don't have to worry about the panic of relegation just yet. Assistant manager says, I want to see a marked improvement. Okay. Burley with a throw-in. It's on extended highlights now, so Powell plays into Lockwood. It's going to be potentially a penalty. It's not given. Derby are going to play out from the back now. We're going to get any pressure on them, lads? Any danger? I actually resorted to putting it back into like a back three because I always feel like we just sort of get played through with two centre-backs. It's too easy for teams to play against us. I mean, I could make Hamer a full-back defend, but I don't feel like that ever really fully stops what we're trying to achieve. But that is an option as well I could go for. As Derby get through to the left-hand side, they play it through. That sort of gap there, they always seem to get into that. Okay, Derby have regained possession. We win it back off them with Victor. Keenan to Hudson. Into Tom Keenan. So now we've got that sort of wide player on the wide zone there. That's complete with Wakataki. He's able to do this. Is it going to go back over to him? Burley, you have the option to. It's gone over to Lockwood, who's inside forward at sack, and that's headed over the bar. Okay, it's gone into Lockwood. Let's see what happens here. Let's go sideline view and see what happens from a tactical perspective here. Let's just see. Right, so Hudson gets it. He's got Burley as an inverted fullback here if he needs to use him across the pitch. And, I mean, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing as a coaching staff? What are we doing as a manager of this team if the centre-back gets the ball there and decides to try and fizz this through and gets it intercepted like that? Derby continue their attack. Powell now wins it. Okay, now explain the counter-attack. Now you've got players running here, and somebody's going to come out on the right-hand side there. Victor has it. Plays into Lockwood. Goes a bit wide. Goes it back into Victor. Heads it towards goal. Keeper saves it. Hamer has it. Plays it back into Mitchell King. Into Hudson. Back into Hamer. Takes some touches, needs to release this. He's tried to cross it in there. Lockwood is going to get to it. Victor goes through, plays it into Hughes, surely, and he's missed the target from there. What a chance that was. Okay, we'll say we owe Derby from the last match. I don't say that team talk very often, so interesting to see if it works for us in this instance. Come on, lads, get some pressure on him, please. Here we go. Right, they play him behind. So let's see here. So Mitchell King's there. The centre-backs, the right-backs here. Andrew fouls the player. It's going to be a free kick. Thrown here, Burley throws it into Victor. Plays it into Burley. Takes a touch backwards towards his own seam at the back line. Plays it to Carl Andrews to get off the ball. Really loses it. Gives it Hudson. Hudson plays it back to the goalkeeper. Have to reset the whole attack now. He's got some options here. Mitchell King's got an option to the right if he wants to use it. Goes to Andrew. Andrew plays out to Janice now on the right-hand side. Crosses it towards the far post. John King goes up. Doesn't quite get there. And it's a penalty. It's been given as a penalty. I don't know who's going to take it. It's going to be Joe Powell, is it? Is he on the pitch? He is. Joe Powell's on the pitch. Is he going to score the penalty? Quite an important one early on in the season. He shoots and he scores, and it's 1-0 to Burton Albion. Derby have a late highlight. They've lost the ball here. We win it with Lockwood now. Plays it into Hughes, back into Lockwood. He's got time and space to try and pick somebody out. It goes wide. Tries to cut it back now to Janice. Goes through. Crosses towards the far post. Victor goes up with the header. Headers it just over the bar. And they have it finishes 1-0 to Burton Albion. I'm not sure really how all the tactics work. We didn't create a lot of chances in that game. We did win, though, with a penalty in the end, so it's a 1-0 win. We'll take that into the Middlesbrough game, and I'll see you in a few days then for the Middlesbrough game. I have to make some more tweaks to the tactic at this stage. Okay, we go then, Middlesbrough away. Let's see how we get on. I don't know what to make of the last game, really. I think we got a bit fortunate, but we're going to just play the same exact team that we can, the players that are fit, and see how the team gets on away from home, make no more changes, see if it plays. Yeah, like if it consistently is a bit like that, where it doesn't create a load of chances, doesn't give a load up, and keeps us in the mix, then it might still be good. It's just, yeah, on the face of it, it just feels like the same tactic as before, really, where we won't be able to create enough chances. The one difference is it's not a strikerless, and we have other wingers to help us defend properly, so we won't get overloaded on the wings all the time. But we'll see how it plays in the next couple of games, I guess. Highlight right before halftime. It's the first highlight of the half. It's going to be a corner to Middlesbrough, whipped in towards the far post, headed towards goalkeeper, saves it, cleared off the line, then it's tapped in by Rory Wilson, and it's 1-0 to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, the set piece in the second half. They're a short free kick. They're going to build their attack. Hudson now wins the ball. Plays into Joe Powell's got some options ahead of him. Tries to slide a pass and doesn't do very well with it. Carl Andrew and Mitchell King between them do win the ball back, though. Harrison now has it and plays it into... Okay, let's see what he's got here. So that feels like we're a little too spread there, right? Because you've got these two that are not really options for him to play to. And Lockwood's gone quite central. So I feel like we need like a double pivot, really, to help us get out. And I feel like our players suit double pivots more. Like the type of players that we've got suits double pivots slightly better. So it might be worth that we do go to a double pivot. And, I mean, I could use the Moneyball tactic as a base for it and try and swing it towards the current players we have. Lockwood's going to get to this, though. He's going to go wide and try and play it into the box into Sam Heller. Goes through, plays across again. It's a good penalty again. That is definitely a penalty. It's going to be given now. Joe Powell's got a chance to score for Burton Albion. Is he going to bang it in for us? And he does, and it's 1-1. Hughes throws it into King, into Heller, back into Mitchell King. Gives the ball away. Now we're going to try and swing a counter on us. Are they going to manage it? Looks like they might. They go through. They get it to their left-hand side. They're going to go through on goal. They try to cross it. They don't quite get there. Lockwood gets to it. Stays on it. Plays up to Victor. Heads on to Sam Heller. All of a sudden, Burton having a break-in on the counter. Sam Heller continues towards the far post. Joe Powell goes at the header and hits the bar and goes over. We've got 59% possession here away from him to Middlesbrough, which is pretty good. I think we get a lot of passive passes, though, because like, the highlights we're seeing at us when we're going direct or countering, which are 2-1 Middlesbrough. Honestly, not being able to just buy players and rectifying a couple of things is so frustrating. It's not even about replacing certain players. It's about being able to change and go to a tactic that I think is going to work better for us. So it's just annoying. We're so lucky. Finished 2-1 to Middlesbrough. Okay, I'll see you in a few days' time then for the next game against Bristol City at home. Okay, we go then. It's going to be Aaron Oxby. It's going to be his time to shine. I've had enough of John King. I've had enough of all the strikers. I've had enough. He's just going in. I tried to withhold myself from using him so he could develop in the youth teams a little longer. He doesn't turn 17. Doesn't go into his full-time training contract until March. But we don't care at this stage. He's going in the team. I've had enough of the nonsense that's been going on. Okay, I'm going to play Hudson and Powell as a double pivot. Powell's going to move backwards into the team eventually now because obviously he's getting a bit older and he's left-footed anyway, so he's going to be back into the double pivot role. I'm going to play lopsided 4-2-3-1 and see how it goes. The same exact tactic as before, just I've lopsided it all, which means now you've sort of got in this sort of central or like half space here. If you think you've got the half sort of space zone here, you've now got Hughes and Hudson both in it, but he's not going to move up into it. They're both going to occupy it. Lockwood will go sort of from wide in behind, and then Giannis will take care of that. I could even move Hughes in a bit more if I want. I could make it a 4-4-2-3-1 to be fair. For now, I'm keep it lopsided so that Powell's got plenty of space to go and occupy this sort of zone here, but we'll see how it all goes. I didn't mean to do that. Assistant manager says, make full use of home advantage. Okay, this will be interesting to watch. I hear Bristol City play short from their free kick. They play behind straight into Giannis. Giannis is going to release the ball to Lockwood. Lockwood into Mitchell King. Mitchell King now plays across to Andrews. Got some time and space left-hand side if he wants to use it. Plays into Brennan Hughes, into Giannis. Giannis now plays it in to Lockwood. Who is he? Just onside. I hope he is. I think he is. So Brennan Hughes now gets it. Gets tackled though. Joe Powell wins it back into Tom Kinney. He's got time and space. Shoots. That was close to being a goal. Okay, Bristol City have regained the ball. They're going to try and play it against us. They've gone long. Now we're going to... Oh, we should be winning this, lads. Lads, that's so poor. We got away with it as well from them making a poor decision up front. They're going to continue their attack. Going to head this away. Heads towards goal. It was close. Okay, I've just clicked full match for a second. I just want to see how we play out against this. I want to see how the 4-3-1 looks. So my issue before in the 4-3-3 was that we were too pushed up. So we've got our inside forward is very, very narrow next to Lockwood now. They're both sort of in the same position, actually, which isn't good. They get out of the same position now, though. And Giannis has to use that pass. The passing option was there, Giannis. You've got to start using that, I think, mate, really. Well, if that's how it's going to be, let's just move him across then. Let's just make it actual 4-3-1 and see how that goes for the next little phase. Okay, highlight starts with Kidden getting on the ball on the left-hand side. It's going to be a deflected cross. They're going to head it away. Bristol City try to play down the line, are they? We're going to be able to win this off them? Surely that's got to be the defend. Lads, you've got to be getting to that. Oh, my goodness, it's a penalty. Like, whatever we do, whatever I do, whether it's... If I try to go a bit more aggressive to get a bit more control and a bit more of the impetus and try and create more chances, we concede more goals and chances at the back. If I try to go more defensive, we don't score up front. I cannot win with this team. This team, I cannot fucking win with in this league. Go get Bristol City. They go long. We're going to go up for the header. I've changed it basically to Moneyball tactic now, the 4-3-1. The actual team instructions weren't very different, so I've just gone with that to see what we can do with this. And Bristol City play out from the back against us now. They're playing to the middle. Can we get any pressure onto them, lads? Not right now. Burley tries to win it first. Don't get sent off. It's fine, please. Okay, Burley, play it safe. Andrew has it. Into Hudson. Into Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes. Into Brennan Hughes. Giannis got time and space. Plays into Lockwood. Lockwood turns the player. Tries to release it. Sort of loses it. Gets it back now. Lockwood. He's got options ahead of him. Don't go through and try and release it to somebody. Lockwood, come on. Highlight continues. As it does, I'm going to also take off the left back and put Terry Taylor on. Just because I feel like he's going to get sent off over there. And I don't want to see him get sent off and ruin a potential comeback. If we can get... and it's a red. 2-0. And they have it's going to finish 2-0 to Bristol City. Gutting, really. Bit gutting, to be honest with you. Okay, what I'm going to try and do is go back to the 4-3-3 that I was using at the start, the one that got us in a close match Middlesbrough away, and then only lost us late on, and try and pick up the good elements. Basically, in the build-up, we don't want the inside forwards to be in the same space as Hughes, and so I'm going to try and keep Hughes up the way maybe earlier on, then Lockwood can sort of go and occupy this space here. And the thing is, I don't know if I want a complete back attack there, really. Ideally, I don't really want that. So, I don't really know, because the whole idea of him being there isn't that he's really an attacking winger. It's just that he's occupying the wide area. Really, because the player is a sub-midfielder. But, that's going to conclude the episode anyway. So, we're going to leave ourselves mid-table. This could be a relegation fight again this year. We could survive. My money's that it's going to be a relegation fight because the two games we've won have both been at home, both 1-0 wins, which has been is a problem, really. So, yeah, that's not looking good early on. I'm dreading the season. And yeah, this is frustrating. It's a difficult save. This is a difficult team to be doing it with. But yeah, I have to find a solution. I have to find a solution to this, and I'll keep trying as much as I can. And in terms of the next episode, we'll come back in December and see how things have been going. Probably come back like Stoke, Swansea, Leicester, probably something like that. And so things have been progressing. And move on into the next one after that. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the series, and we'll hopefully get there soon to get ourselves into the Premier League as a Premier League club. But we've got a new stadium coming. The team is coming along with a couple of new really good youngsters in terms of Aaron and a few others. But that's going to do it. Hope you enjoyed the series, and see you all, of course, next time.